No, we're not doing that. Hi guys, and welcome to another Guild Wars 2 Daily. The footage in the background for today comes in from Guild Wars 2 Guru and Curse again. This footage and the footage I put, not yesterday obviously, but the day before that I put on the videos, is actually commentated. The original version of it has been commentated by someone. So if you are interested in listening to that, do feel free to follow the link that I'll be given in the description so that you can go and see what the actual person who played the game's perspective on what was going on was. But yeah, that aside, thanks very much for the permission, guys, and let's get into it. The first question comes in from Raw MacGyver, who says, oh, see, there's so many names that when you say them out loud, you realise what they're supposed to sound like. Who says, how does the mail system work? Are you still able to trade and such? And isn't it possible for someone to spam you with this mail system? This was almost going to be a quick question today, but I figured, you know, there's some stuff we can talk about. The mail system, if you guys don't know, Guild Wars 2, to answer one of your questions here straight away, Guild Wars 2 doesn't give you the ability to trade in the traditional sense you might expect in an MMO. Instead of like going up to a person, right-clicking and clicking trade, and then you kind of stand next to one another and then you initiate the trade, instead of doing that, everything's done through this new system called mail. Mail is something that does kind of exist in other MMOs. You've probably seen it, or you can probably recognize what it probably does from the name. It's essentially a messaging system that works even while one of the players is offline. So you can send someone a mail so that when they first log on after, say, a week or so, hey, they can actually read what you had to say to them if there's some kind of guild thing going on or some private thing you want to do with them, you want to go off and do something when they next log on, and then you can send these messages. Guild Wars 1 actually lacked this feature, and it was quite annoying. I remember I played Guild Wars 1 a lot, obviously, but when I went to other MMOs, that was something I always liked. I was like, oh, I can actually send messages to people when they're offline so that they get it when they log on. This is madness. How does this work? And Guild Wars 1 never had it, so it's something that I always missed. And with Guild Wars 2, this feature's come forward, but that's kind of not the extent of it. They've made this mail system a more all-encompassing thing. It's also used by NPCs that will send you mail after you've completed Renown or Heart quests. So these are the quests that you do that aren't exactly dynamic events, but they're hearts on the map that you'll go to. They usually correspond to a specific NPC who wants you to help around their farm or help with a specific task. Usually involves killing stuff, but there are alternate things you can do as well, like feeding cows, putting out fires, clearing up mess, stuff like that. And when you complete these heart quests, the way that the NPC rewards you is instead of you then having to go over to the NPC and speak to them as you might with a traditional questing system, instead you get a mail. You'll find a big notice will kind of appear on your screen every now and then, and you'll click it and you'll find a mail sent to you by an NPC. It's exactly the same as if an actual player had sent you the mail, except it's got some actual lore and some words from the NPC saying, oh, thanks very much for helping me out. I guess the reason they did this is because they really didn't want the heart quest to feel like traditional quests. They've done a lot to try and automate everything. You don't have to go and speak to the heart quest NPC to begin the heart quest. You can be doing it without even knowing who the NPC is or what they want. You can still manage to complete it just from killing stuff in the area. And in the same way, you can also get rewards from the NPCs through these mails. I'm not sure whether I 100% like that. A lot of people are applauding Guild Wars 2's ability to let players go out and explore the world, and you can just run around for as long as you want and never have to do anything in particular. You'll just run around and you'll get rewards for doing all kinds of different things. But I wonder whether it's really going to be that fun when a lot of the time you don't need to have any context or knowledge of what the hell you're doing. You're just killing stuff. And I mean, I will be upset if I accidentally complete one of these renown quests before I've actually managed to speak to the NPC, because once it's completed, all that lore that you might have got from the NPC originally as they describe their problems and what's going on with them is going to be replaced by a generic, oh, thank you very much dialogue when you actually go over to them. So I kind of feel like people might miss out a little bit there. The internet will have written a lot of stuff into these NPCs and put thought into why these heart quests are going on, and I don't know, maybe some people will miss out. But anyway, that's what they've done. It's not obviously a big deal, but that's the way that they've set it up, that everything's automatic. And of course, as I'm saying, you can get rewards. That's because the mail system, as I said, is this all-encompassing thing where it will also allow you to trade items. So if I'm talking to you in game and I want to send you some crafting materials so you can make me a bag that has more slots in it, but you're on the other side of the world, it's not a problem. I can send you a mail that says, oh, hi, how's it going, here's the materials, and you can attach the materials or any item you want from your inventory into the mail system. They'll receive it, they can accept the items, very similar to how you would accept your reward from a heart quest NPC, and then they can craft the bag and then send it straight back to you. It's instantaneous, there's no fee attached to sending mail, and that's how all trading works. Some people don't like this 100%. I think that, well, first, I think this would be a good place for a gold sink. I think traditional trading should be in a game, proximity-based trading, because that way, if they do that, they can actually attach a small fee onto using the mail system to trade, which makes a nice gold sink for convenience. I don't know why they removed actual traditional trading altogether. I suppose they just figured that they didn't want it or they didn't need it, but I do feel like they maybe missed a little bit of a trick there. I heard some other people talking a while ago about how this could remove some essence of community, or some people were complaining about some things like that. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think obviously you're still going to have to meet people in the world to get their username in the first place, and there are obviously benefits to being physically around someone in other areas of the game. I think that's taken it a little bit too far. That's kind of how the mail system works. It's a bit different to other MMOs. There is no traditional trading. I don't see it too much of a bad thing. I do think they missed a bit of a trick, but that's kind of the system going on there. As to what you said about spamming, don't worry about it. Seriously, why would we have to assume that people could spam you with this mail system? It's just not going to happen. They'll add some kind of filter that stops people being able to spam you, just like they will to all chat and things like that. It's really not going to be a problem. You should be able to block people. All those standard features will apply. It's the mail system just like any other, just in a little bit of a different packaging, I suppose you could say. Quick question comes in today from Fierces1337, who says, I've got a question on the character names in Guild Wars 2. In some beta videos, there are players with a single name and some with two names, like in Guild Wars 1. Is it going to stay like this so that both options are possible? Yes, this is very much their plan. This is how things are going to be working. In Guild Wars 1, you had to have a first name and a second name to have a viable character. I guess that was ArenaNet's way of trying to make people have sensible names, I suppose, that weren't just like two letters, like AG, and that's your name. But it actually encouraged some pretty bad names as well. All MMOs have this. I don't think that this is really something that it's the developer's job to try and stop. But in Guild Wars 1, people used to, if you wanted to be called Clive, then you couldn't do that. So people would type their name as X space Clive X. It's just, you see it all over the place, but that's kind of what they did with the first game. I think it was a little bit stupid with the first game. We should have been allowed to have single word character names, but in any case, with Guild Wars 2, they have added this functionality. What does this mean to you guys if you never played Guild Wars 1? Well, as you may or may not know, players from the first game can reserve their character names through their Hall of Monuments. So what this means is that when Guild Wars 2 first launches, a lot of good names will probably already be taken if they are two-word names. However, all those single-word names are up for grabs, so do consider that. All those awesome names like Salma and Vec and all those different character names will be taken up very, very quickly, and they are still available because players in Guild Wars 1 couldn't reserve them. The last question today comes in from Caliman2442. Well, actually, it's not the last question. I've got an extra one as well. But Caliman says, will there be any PvE skills that we can earn like in Guild Wars 1? Whew, okay, I'm back. I just went off and ate some pizza. Turns out my dog, if you heard him barking just now, was because the Domino's guy came. So, yeah, let's get back into this. Caliman says, will there be any PvE skills that we can earn like in Guild Wars 1? This could seem like a very simple question at first glance, but actually I think this is quite interesting because really it's not as simple as are there any PvE only skills? This is what I'm assuming you're asking here. If you're simply asking about the system whereby we earn new skills, yes, you can earn new skills in the game. The left 5 skills, your weapon skills, just slowly unlock through use of the weapon, which really is only there so that as you pick up a new weapon, because that will change your skill bar, it kind of eases you into it so you learn your skills at a more enjoyable pace rather than being slapped with loads of new things, which is funny considering there are many situations in the game where you will just be thrown an entirely new skill bar without this mechanic to ease you into unlocking new skills. But that's how those left 5 works. But the right 5, your utility skills, including your elite skill and your healing skill, all those are earned through PvE gameplay. If you're asking that, they're unlocked using skill points. You can choose specifically which skill you want from a big list, but they cost skill points to earn, and to get these skill points you get 1 every time you level up, and you also get 1 for completing skill challenges. Personally, I actually think that they could improve that system quite heavily. I think I like the idea of skill points to unlock them, but why are they just giving us the skills out of nowhere? Why can't we also have specific places to go in the game to find those skills as well? I think that could add a bit more content and a bit more fun. You have to go to specific places, find certain NPCs who are well trained in various areas that will then give you those skills, and then you unlock them with your skill points. I think that could be quite fun, honestly. And also, I mean, we don't really know how the balance of these skill points work. I mean, theoretically we're going to have 75 skill points through leveling up as we play through the game. I don't think you get skill points for the first 5 levels, if I'm correct. And so you do for the last 75, which means you'll have 75 to unlock skills. We don't know how many skills are going to be in the game. Every beta there's been more skills have been added. So the question arises, will those 75 skill points actually allow us to unlock everything possible to us? Because if the answer to that question is yes, I also think maybe they've missed a point here, because I think it could be a lot of fun to encourage players to go to these skill point challenges more. I think I'd personally, just the way I'd prefer to play the game, I'd like it if we didn't get any skill points on level up and we had to go do these challenges to find the skills. It would feel like we're doing more towards earning the skills. Like you see a skill that you might want and you think, right, now I'm going to go do this, this, this and this to get it, rather than just realise, oh, I've got loads of skill points, they've already built up, I didn't really work towards this, but now I can unlock it anyway. It's just my personal opinion, but anyway, that's how acquisition of PvE skills work. But if you're asking what I think you're asking, which is, are there any PvE specific skills in Guild Wars 2 like there were in Guild Wars 1, then it's not a simple yes-no answer, because for anybody who doesn't know, in Guild Wars 1 there were certain skills that were introduced later in the game's lifespan, namely with the Nightfall campaign and the Eye of the North expansion, and in these places there were specific skills added that could only be used in the PvE world, and that's because they were particularly overpowered for a PvP scenario. So for example, one of them's a skill that actually removes death penalty, which would be just so broken in PvP. So it's stuff like that. And are they going to be that in Guild Wars 2? Well, it's been established in Guild Wars 2 there is going to be a split between PvE skills and PvP skills. Namely, if there's a PvE skill that's really, really underpowered in PvE, but it's really good in PvP, they'll split it. So it's 2 versions of essentially the same thing, but with the correct balancing for the different game modes. As for entire skills that are dedicated to one game type and not the other, yes, actually there are sort of situations where this will happen, but I don't think it's ever been ArenaNet's intent to say, oh, this is a PvE only skill. For example, there's a dynamic event in the PvE world that turns you into a pig, where you get a skill that lets you sniff around for truffles on the floor. Now, that is technically, I suppose, a PvE only skill. That's not going to be usable in PvP because it's got no use in PvP. And there are a lot of situations like that. The main thing we should point out really though are racial skills. These are locked out in PvP. You can't use them in PvP. And not just racial elites, I believe, also normal racial utility skills. You can't use them in PvP. They're more of a flavor type of skill. They've been described as being less powerful than other skills so that you won't feel like you've picked the wrong race when you get to end game stuff. And considering that PvP is pretty much entirely, I think it's safe to consider PvP a form of end game because of that, so that there's never any situation where only Asurans can be on a PvP team. They've just cut them completely out. Racial skills do not exist in PvP. That's the biggest example of a PvE exclusive skill split come Guild Wars 2, but like I said, the PvE world is littered with things that you won't find in PvP. Just consider environmental weapons, things you find around on your travels that when you pick them up will change your weapon skills to something else. There's going to be loads of those around and barely any in comparison in the PvP environments that you're just not going to be able to find. So in one light, yes, there are going to be a lot of skills that are only available in PvE and not PvP, but in another light, does it really matter? Because a lot of them I doubt will be relevant. Nobody's going to want to be sniffing for truffles while they're trying to capture a point against 5 other players. Before we end, I thought I'd do like a bonus question today. It's not really about Guild Wars 2, but more about the channel in particular. I get loads of questions about the channel, but this one, a lot of people have been asking me, am I going to keep doing Guild Wars 2 daily after the game's release? The answer to that is yes. Yes, I definitely will be doing daily. It might not be so much of a question and answer thing. I'm not sure. I would definitely like to be showing game updates as they come out, things like that, cool things that I found. But yeah, I mean, if the questions and answers format keeps going on nicely, then yes, this show will continue. Just because the game gets released, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing content for it. It's definitely my plan to keep going. So yeah, there's that, guys. Thanks very much again to Curse and Guild Wars 2 Guru for the footage in the background. Leave any comments, guys, because April Fool's was yesterday. Nobody really asked any questions. So I struggled a little bit to find some questions today. So go mad, ask me anything you want, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.